This is Professor Raymond Newnan, Department of Ancient History, log entry number 2. I believe I am near the distant past.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, sometimes that is better.
Run, Rabbit, run!
I like to dissect girls, if you know I'm utterly insane.
Have you checked the children?
Michael!
Beware the stare of Mary Shaw.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
I myself am strange and unusual.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
I just can't take no pleasure in killing.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured?
The juice is loose.
Unpleasant dream.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Talks. I am your host, Jeremy, and as you can tell, I am by myself today. We don't have any special guests. We do not have our co-host, Ansley. It is just me, myself, and I on this 4th episode of our 4th season. How about that? Already 4 episodes into the 4th season, and we are hitting the ground running with haunts already. We have hit so many as it currently stands, and we're just having a blast with it. On today's episode, we are talking about 13 Stories Haunted House located in Newnan, Georgia. Newnan, Georgia, that's just a little ways past Atlanta, sort of neck and neck with them. We got to visit them for their opening weekend. They were doing a really unique marketing campaign this year. For the month of September, you only paid $20 and you got to experience all of the attractions that are there at 13 Stories Haunted House. And to say that they were amazing would be a little bit of a lie if I said that. They weren't amazing. It was not the worst haunted house in the world that we've ever been to either. We definitely hold that title for some very special cases. However, we did get to experience this haunt. We got there like right at the end of the night, somewhere thereabouts, probably within the last 30 minutes before they closed. And so we're just gonna dive right into it. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna talk about it. It was not just me and Ansley this time. It was me and Ansley. We had some friends with us. Ray came along, and we also had our friends Bigfoot and his girlfriend Danny. It was a great group of 5. It was a really nice time we got to have there. So yeah, we're just gonna dive in and talk about this. So, 13 Stories Haunted House, as I said, located up in Newnan, Georgia. About a 2.5-hour drive for us, so not too terribly bad. When you arrive at this location, it is clear that there's not a whole lot going on in terms of midway, facade, any things like that. Now, I don't know if that is due to the fact we were there on like one of their very first nights, or if that had something to do with the fact that it was late. I'm not sure. I cannot say. Nobody can say other than the owners and the people in charge there. But it definitely was dead, to say the least, which is very shocking considering the fact that they had this awesome deal going on. Tickets for 13 Stories are typically ranging anywhere from about, I believe, $45, and that is just for the standard ticket. I'm not sure if that involves the zombie laser tag or not. I'll have to check on that and report back. But they were running a sale, $20. It got you the main haunt, it got you the clown haunt, and then it got you the zombie laser tag experience afterwards. There's like a few haunts roped into the main haunt, so they say 4. You could argue that it really is all just one big haunt. It depends on the perception of the person, the point of view. But you arrive at this haunted house, absolutely dead. It's clear that this is what I define as an old school haunt, meaning it's the type that you remember growing up where they rented out a big factory or old school or whatever have you, whatever large building they could find for a decent price, and they set up shop inside. And that's exactly what this is. It's a large, what appears to be a warehouse. We had a little bit of a disagreement on if it was a warehouse or if it was a old school, because it really could have gone either way. It kind of had the makings of either one, but I think the general consensus was it was some sort of old packing place, shipping yard of sorts. Not really sure, but you come over these railroad tracks, you enter into this gate, and boom, you're there. You're at this giant warehouse, right? Nothing really going on out in the midway. Didn't really encounter any actors running around. Nothing to get you hyped before you go in, which is it's a shame, because there's a lot of ground to cover from the parking lot just to the ticket booth alone. You know, there's a vast majority of ground right there, and then from the ticket booth up to the front door, there's even more ground to cover before you even get inside. So it was a little disheartening that there wasn't anything to experience, enjoy, interact with, especially given the fact that we love to film, we love to get things on film and get those interactions so that you guys can see them and sort of get an idea of what to expect should you choose to come out to these haunts. So it is very disappointing, in my opinion, that there's nothing out there to experience. But you get there, you go to the ticket booth, they got a pretty nice ticket booth situation set up, and then from the ticket booth to the front door, you have to walk all the way down the side of the warehouse to get to the entrance where the general admission line and such is. And when I say that there wasn't a whole lot of light, I'm not kidding. Like, they did not have much light set up along the side of the building, and I know we're setting up this haunted house horror atmosphere, but it really was a letdown. Like, it's pitch black, you can't really see anything, and honestly, it makes you not feel so safe, because you don't know what's lurking around any corner. And I mean, sure, I guess, you know, one could argue, oh, we're going to play into that idea, sort of the general surrounding area not being a safe area sort of situation, but that's just, I don't think that's the way to go. There could be some lights, there could be so much to see and do, interact with. There's so much room for all sorts of things that they could have there, and they just sort of neglect that space, which is really disappointing. I would love to see some, it doesn't even have to be midway attractions, midway actors running around scaring people, you know, maybe be able to sell something. Now, that being said, they have a gift shop after you exit the haunt, and I'm not sure if they want to consider that like their midway, but it doesn't really make sense, like how you would get there, you know, from outside the haunt. Like, it just doesn't add up to me. But so you get there, you go on down, walk clear down to basically the other end of the building to get inside the haunt itself. They have a wonderful line set up to how they, you know, can hold people on a given night. It's decorated and themed out. It is very dark in there, though. Again, like, I get it, like, haunted house environment, we want to be scared and whatnot. But at the same time, you want to have something to look at. You want to be entertained. You want to experience that dread and actually be able to appreciate it. Like us, we like to be able to appreciate those finer details of the sets and the props and things like that. And that was just something we did not necessarily get to do because of the way things were set up here. But you get down there, you get inside. The people were very accommodating, first off. I do want to say that. No disrespect to anyone who owns, runs, operates 13 stories. Obviously, we are always very grateful to get to experience these haunted attractions, get to work alongside of the directors and owners and workers and scare actors, everything. We get to work alongside them and get some really great footage and have some really great scares, and they're so nice and gracious to let us film. So I do want to say that, you know, everything that we say here, it is certainly no bearing on their character or anything like that. But there are just things that I feel could be improved on. And obviously, I'm not going to tell anybody, do not go to this haunt. Like, there are times I'll tell people, like, maybe, you know, if you're looking for something that's more bang for your buck, maybe not waste your money at one. And we're not to that point yet, so I will not say yay or nay on that until the end of the show. You have to listen to the end to find out. But, like I said, just all of these things are purely our opinions and what we feel coming out of these haunts. So just be aware of that when you listen. Take it with a grain of salt. We're trying to help these haunts improve in whatever way they possibly can. So you get inside. The staff were very accommodating, very nice, let you in, get you in. They go over the rules and were very thorough about that. So they make sure you know like what's going on, what you're going to experience. You know, don't touch the actors aren't going to touch you, blah, 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 blah. The usual, 99-cent spiel you get at a haunt, You get all those rules and then you get inside. Now, obviously, we're not going to break down every single little thing that comes into play in the haunt, because if we did that, there'd be no sense in you coming and experiencing it for yourself. Just like when you watch our walkthrough video, you're not going to see beat for beat what happens in there, because then that would just ruin it for you. But we are going to point out things that are noteworthy. We are going to point out things that are not noteworthy, things that could be improved upon as we go. So, first thing I want to say right out the gate, sets, for the most part, were pretty darn good. It did depend on where you were. There were some places where aspects were better than others, but the sets overall, it transported you to that world you were in. Granted, some of the set that was there, it was clear you were sort of just using what that surrounding area had already built into it, which is fine, great. Adapt to your surroundings, use that to your advantage. But there were other times where they really built up this set and this scene without anything that was there. Like, they created their own environment, and that was wonderful. There was a wonderful library scene that we walked through, and you would have thought you walked into the library of this old mansion. There was this wonderful kitchen diner scene, and that was done so remarkably well. You felt like you were walking into a diner. Now, if there is a pet peeve of mine, and this is a big one for me, I harp on it with different haunts often because I've seen the way this can be done, and so I always have to point this out if I notice it. If you are in a warehouse space, obviously there are cases where you're not going to build your haunt clear up to the roof if it's super tall. And if the ceiling is a little lower, like say you could get on a ladder and touch the ceiling sort of situation, you still can't build the walls and everything up to the top, right? But one of the things that I personally cannot stand in a haunt is when you basically are walking through and you look on either side of you, you've got the walls, the set, it looks fabulous. But then you look straight up. And what do you see when you see straight up? You see the building that you're in. You see that cheap tile ceiling that, it looks like an office space almost. And I cannot stand that. There is a wonderful haunt that we go to up in Canton, Georgia called Paranoia. And they have really, I feel, mastered how to camouflage that by draping different things over the top of their sets. If you're not going to have a roof on your set, you drape some foliage, some camouflage stuff. Do something to hide that roof from me. Because if I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, I'm in this hospital scene, and then boom, I look up, suddenly I see this cheap ceiling, that's going to take me out real quick. Now, granted, I didn't notice it all throughout the haunt, but I noticed it more often than not. There was a couple locations where you didn't see the ceiling and they actually boxed you into that scene, the room. And for me, that's wonderful that they did that, but why not do it for the whole haunt? Or why not get the camouflage type netting to put over the top? Anything goes a long way with that and will transport you from where you are and make you feel almost cut off, because that's the thing, is you want to feel like, oh, I'm in this world, I'm in this scenario, I'm in my own horror movie. But then the minute you look up, it's like, oh, I'm not in the horror movie, I'm filming the horror movie because I'm here on a soundstage, basically. And that's never a good thing to see. So if there's anything I can harp on and be really, really critical about, it is that. Camouflage your ceilings, your roofs. Make it so I don't know where I am. Apart from that, set work really, really is a great thing there. They have some fabulous sets, some wonderful moments, and I can't say a whole lot of negative where that's concerned. So, good on y'all for the set work. I'm very much impressed. You can tell that there is work put into it often. Also, in terms of props and scenes and whatnot, you see plenty of amazing props throughout the haunted house. There's some really great moments that are, gory and gross and just so succinct and perfect that you can't help but be impressed by it. I really didn't see anything that made me go, oh, okay, that looks cheap, or oh, that looks fake. For the most part, I was rather impressed. Granted, there might have been a moment or two where it was like, okay, you went to Spirit Halloween and got that. I got you. But other times, not so much. One of the big things with this haunt I do want to focus on, though, because I noticed this more than anything, was the actors in the haunt. As an actor, your job is to scare the people. And if you can't scare them, make them laugh. That's what I was always taught. If you can't scare them, make them laugh. Or just do something. Don't break character. Luckily, to my memory's recollection, nobody broke character. They were very good about that. Everyone stayed within their characters. And it was a fabulous trip. It was a fabulous adventure. But where I had an issue going through this haunt was it seemed like about 90% of the actors were just screaming at me. I don't recall much about it. The best way I can describe going through this haunt that evening is the same way I described it when I ventured to this haunt by myself about 3 years ago. And the best way to describe that is it felt like a fever dream. Because I literally, I don't remember it happening. It doesn't feel like I went through this haunt. Like, I went through it, but then trying to recollect it in my brain is like, I had to have dreamt that. Because there's some moments that are just like, not so great. And one of those big things is how the actors would just, scream at you. There's one actor, and I've got to call him out. And granted, this is what I will say about this. On the night we went, it was raining, and there is a small portion that does take you outside, which I will say that little moment of taking you outside doesn't really do anything for the haunt itself. It doesn't really add anything or take away from anything. I guess the reason for that is because in that alleyway where you're outside, that's where the chainsaws are. And I'm guessing they did that way so that the fumes from the chainsaws aren't going to be bothering people inside. That's the best I can come up with. And if the team behind 13 Stories wants to reach out and confirm or deny that for me, I would love to hear the confirmation on that. But the only thing you saw out in this alleyway was a chainsaw guy, and it was one chainsaw guy. And with that chainsaw guy, he didn't do a whole lot of anything other than rev up his chainsaw and walk very slowly behind us. Granted, like I said, it could be because it was raining, right? So that it totally within the rights to not chase us out of the haunt because it's pouring down rain. Well, it wasn't pouring down rain at this point, but it was still wet. The ground was still wet. But you could have done anything a little different. You could have, held the chainsaw above your head. You could have at least, sort of moved it towards us. He literally walked with it in front of him and just, and that was it. No expression, no nothing. And I really don't recall him having any, type of costuming, makeup, anything like that. So that was a really big disappointment for me. Because it was like, what in the world? This is the chainsaw. That's such a pivotal part of any haunted house. And we got to this chainsaw and it was just like, damn, this it is not hitting. It's not hitting, and it did not hit. Even the one person in our group who got really scared was not, intimidated by this chainsaw. And usually that'll send people running. Even if you just rev it up, it'll just send people running. Not this time. So I was really disappointed about that. Really disappointed in how that was portrayed. And I think that could have been a whole lot better. And like I said, across the board, actor-wise, really a lot of what we got was just a bunch of screaming and hooting and hollering. We got to the clown portion of the haunt, and it was a little better. It was a little bit more interactive. There were a little bit more They tried to create a story with us and be a part of it. But, I mean, it still wasn't, like, that great. And you could tell throughout this haunt that there were holes. Like, there was a lot of holes. And, again, it could have been an opening night thing or opening weekend thing. You know, maybe they just don't have the people, the numbers. But it was blank in some places. And that was really disappointing to walk through certain rooms and have absolutely nothing to scare you, to jump out at you. It was just blank. There's so much room and there's so much that can happen, and it fell flat for me and for the rest of our group. We all sort of came to this general consensus after the fact of that felt like a very strange fever dream. And I know I've already said that, but that is essentially how it came across to us, which is a shame. And unfortunately, you know, they had the fabulous set work. They have, you know, the technical effects and whatnot that they were using. And, you know, it's all great. It's all well and good. But you can't build your house based solely on, you know, these effects and the sets. You just can't do it. It doesn't work. Another thing worth mentioning in this haunt is it's very easy to get lost at a certain point of the haunt. So the first portion of it before you get to the alleyway and the clown haunt, you get, you know, through this first bit, and everything's pretty straightforward. It all makes sense where you're going, right? Then you get to the clown portion of it. Clown haunt, it makes sense. Everything's going, and then all of a sudden you get to this point where it doesn't quite make any sense, because you're on this hallway that almost looks as if it should be this behind-the-scenes, backstage hideaway for the actors to run and go places. And that really has bugged me, because it's like, you could have done something here. I get that maybe you're going from, you know, like I said, they consider themselves to have 4 haunts. Maybe that's the moment you're going from clown haunt to the next haunt. But the problem with that is, you don't even really notice when you leave the clown haunt, and you don't notice that moment that you get into this final haunt, which the final haunt is literally just basically 2 long walkways and then what looks like the inside of a flea market. Which, I get it, that sounds harsh as all get out, and I'm sorry, but that was how that final quote-unquote haunt came across. It really felt like, we're going up this hallway, we're going through this junkyard, and now we're inside this flea market, and then, boom, we're at the end. And that was just really disappointing, and on top of that, it's really confusing, because, again, it kind of looks like, at a point of it, like it's this sort of backstage area that you're not really supposed to be in. And that just really messes with me, and messes with your head, because it's like, wait, did I make a wrong turn somewhere? Did I do the right thing? Because what's also misguiding is all over the floor, they have arrows. And I don't know if this is from whatever it was before, or if this is from when it was another iteration of the haunt. I'm not sure. But you've got arrows all over this floor pointing different directions now. And you're going one way, but the arrow's pointing back in the other direction. You're like, wait, did I make a wrong turn? Am I not supposed to end up here yet? And it leaves you asking yourself a lot of questions and thinking, did I screw up somehow? Did I make, like, what did I do wrong here? So it's a very confusing haunt. It's a very blank haunt. I feel like there's so much room to improve there, and we're not getting that. Now, some people may go, and that may be their style. Like I said, it really is reminiscent of your typical, like, hometown haunt, you know, that you go to every year. Like, it feels very hometown, very much. It's not meant to be up at this professional level, and that's okay. You know, we try to go to haunts that are a little more on the home style side, and ones that are a little bit more in the professional wing. And this one definitely falls more towards that hometown feel sort of haunt. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say without, you know, harping on it, because it sounds like I'm just absolutely dogging on this haunt. But You know, it's one of those moments where some of the good outweighs the bad, and the bad outweighs the good, and you know, how do you balance that? One of the other things we noticed going through is there's a lot of exposed hardware. And what I mean by that is there is a lot of moments where you see a spotlight or a wash light, whatever the is creating the ambiance for that scene. I don't have a problem seeing those lights because obviously, you know, they're going to be visible. And usually 9 times out of 10, wherever they're visible from, you have like the fog will sort of play with it and it all works together and you don't notice that, right? But what I do have a problem with is when I look, you know, in that direction, or I look at a wall, or I look anywhere around the scene that I'm walking through, and boom, I see drop cables. That to me says you just don't care, and like you just, it doesn't matter to you because you're not trying to immerse me anymore. When I see those drop cables, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, drop cables, I'm talking about big extension cords and power strips, surge protectors. I saw those things as we went through. You could see them in the places that they were. They were not camouflaged. They were not hidden. There was no effort to make sure they were camouflaged or hidden. It was just boom, right here I am. Hi, basically waving at you. And it was like, well, damn, this, you know, for a hunt that's going to charge me $45 on a regular night, I mean, thank God I only paid $20 on this night, because if I'd have paid anything more than $20, I would have been sorely pissed off, because it's like, this is not where you should be holding yourself if you're going to boast the professionalism and appear to be a professional haunt. You shouldn't do that, because at this point, all I am seeing is that, oh, you know, we can throw a couple scenes together, we can get the local high school kids to come out and act in this haunt for us, bada bing, bada boom, and yeah, we'll call ourselves a haunt, and we'll charge $45 for it to recoup our loss. And that doesn't jive well with me. Don't be taking people's money like that. If they had charged, I'd say $20 for the haunt itself, standard haunt, that would have been more reasonable. Like, if it was $20 all the time, I could understand that. But the fact that it was $20 for a special night that we were there, and it's typically $45, that's a big problem to me. And it does not match the value of what you're getting. So, I mean, like I said, I hate to be so critical about it, but it really was a big, big letdown for us. And then moving on to the the laser tag portion. That was a cool little thing that they had, but it was short. It was very, very short. And there wasn't a whole lot to it. It was literally run around, shoot the zombies, and that's it. And there was only like 3 people doing it. Like 3 actors acting in this part of the haunt. And it's like, you saw them every time you turned around. Boom, boom, boom. Here they are, here they are, here they are. And they're like running around. Like they were getting their steps in, I guarantee you. And there was one who like was doing a wonderful job, but, you know, they were like overdoing it at times. They were the only one to do anything. Like it was just, it was rough, you know? And another disappointing part of that whole thing was you get to the end of the laser tag thing, and right before the end of it, and we'll talk about the end of the haunt as well because it had a similar sort of situation, you couldn't really tell where the ending was. And so here comes Ansley and Ray coming back from the end of it, going basically backtracking, and they're like, no, you have to go back, you have to leave that way. And it's like, there's nothing that way, there's nothing else. And it's like, oh, go that way, it's the end. And the ending is very lackluster. You get out there, it's over, it's said and done, move on with your life, thank you for coming, buy the t-shirt. And that was a very disappointing aspect. And then to make matters worse, they have a TV set up on the table where you return your blasters. And the guy there, and I don't know, maybe it was because it was the end of the night, I'm not sure, you know, we asked about like, well, who won? And And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'd have to, like, recalibrate this, and I'd have to restart this. Like, he had an excuse for why he couldn't provide the experience for us to let us know, hey, who won? And that's part of the fun, is you want to get competitive with your friends. You want to find out who won, who did the best zombie killing. And he was like, nah, he couldn't be bothered to even attempt to pull up the scores. And to me, that's just a bad precedent. That's just sheer laziness, in my opinion. And I think that's wrong. I mean, sure, I get it. We only paid $20, and I keep going back to that $20, but it was that $20 as a substitute of the $45 value. So we still should have gotten what we deserve with $45. And then jumping to the end of the main haunt itself, another moment of just pure, like, what the hell was that? Is you get to the end of this haunt, right? And there's a huge black curtain right in front of you. And there's an actress here who plays out a scene. I won't give away what the scene is, just in case, you get to see it for yourselves. But this actress does her little song and dance. The animatronic does its literal song and dance. And when it's over, we all just sort of stood there looking at each other, going, okay, well, now what do we do? And she just kind of looked like, I don't know, and wouldn't tell us where to go. And we're looking around, and there's one door that clearly is like a backstage area, but there's no other clear exit. And we're like, okay, well, like, we just gonna stand here now? Like, it took away from everything. And then she's like, you go through the curtain. You go through the curtain, boom, you're in the gift shop. It was like, really? That was the ending? That was, like, we traversed this far, and that was what we got? Not a huge fan. Not a huge fan at all. It really was a lackluster moment, and I feel like it could have been so much more if they really put the work in and really honed in on stuff. But it was just disappointing at that point. Like, it's the old, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. We literally were very disappointed with that ending. And same with the zombie laser tag. We didn't get to spend a whole lot of time in the gift shop, because that's where you end up at the end of both. You end up in this gift shop. And even more confusing, when you come up from the parking lot, on the side of the door, on the parking lot side, there's a sign that says, like, the zombie laser tag experience or whatever. It had a name, but I don't remember what the name was. But the door is right there on the side, and it says that's the entrance for it. So when you come out of the main haunt, you think, okay, I gotta go back outside and back around. Well, we do that, and the guy comes to that door. He's like, what did y'all do that for? Why didn't y'all just come through the inside? Well, no one told us that was an option, Chief. Like, you don't have the proper signage. You're not making anything clear. And nobody is helping anyone figure anything out around here. It was just like, really? Like, dude, it's kind of on y'all. It's not on us. So that was another one of those really disappointing moments of, well, damn. I guess we went the wrong way. Again, nothing's clear out here. And so then you're in the gift shop, and I walked around briefly and looked around. There's not a whole lot to look at. Looked like they had a bunch of t-shirts and, knickknacks and things like that. Their beverages is an old, like, Pepsi vending machine, which I was like, really? Like, you could just buy a case and sell them for probably and make a better profit than that, but because that's the thing, not everybody carries cash. A lot of people carry card these days, and a lot of people definitely aren't carrying quarters with them. So it was like, why is that your way of getting people something to drink? And there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of photo ops to enjoy and take in. It was a disappointing thing. Everybody sort of just like left and went out to the cars as quickly as they could. And that was pretty much all there was to it. Nobody was in any sort of rush to stick around to check out anything further, talk to anybody. So it was really a lackluster trip. I was disappointed. is an understatement. To say we were all disappointed was an understatement, especially given how far we traveled for that haunt. 2.5 hour drive, and then you get there and it just didn't even remotely live up to expectations. So it's sad. It's a sad thing. But, they can't all be winners. They're not all going to be great. There's probably something I missed in the whole grand scheme of things. Who knows? There's probably something we all missed. Maybe we're holding it in too high of a stature. I don't know. I just know for us, it did not live up to the hype, the expectations. It definitely was not worth... I would not pay anything more than what I paid that night to go. And all I will say in terms of the operations of things is they have a sister haunt, or at least they used to. I don't know if it's still open, called The Village. That would happen at the Renaissance Festival. And the people there were like 1,000 times unfriendlier than here at 13 Stories. So I don't know, I cannot in good conscience even recommend you go check out The Village, because I went there some 3 years ago and felt very unwelcomed. It was a very disappointing experience, but we're not here to talk about The Village. If you want to go check them out, you are more than welcome to. Like I said, they're at the Georgia Renaissance Festival grounds, and that's where they do that haunt. But, so looking at everything we talked about tonight, 13 Stories Haunted House. It had some moments, some great, some really bad. It was not at all what we were hoping for. It did not live up to the hype, and that is a very disappointing thing. So I think the best score that we can give it, and I say we, it's just me, but everybody else seemed to have the general consensus of rating it pretty low. I'm going to have to give it a score of, drumroll please, 2.5 screams. So unfortunately, I got to rate it 2.5 screams, because while the set work was pretty decent, that's not enough to save your haunt. The exposed wires and hardware and things that I shouldn't see, the behind the scenes, that really did it for me. The actors pretty much only screaming at us and not really doing a whole lot in the way of interactions and putting on a show. Another problem right there. Then on top of that, you have the extreme confusion of going between scenes in certain points, and so you didn't even know where in the world you were going. So that, all of that lumped together, the best I can give it is 2.5, because then I have to look at the price tag on this haunted house, and $45 for it just doesn't exactly scream, something I want to do. But, like I said, that is just our opinion of it. That is just my opinion of it. We were not overly impressed, but we want you to go out there and check it out for yourself and let us know what you thought. Go check out 13 Stories Haunted House and Project Wasteland 2024. They're open on Fridays and Saturdays from the day we're recording this, the 27th and 28th of September, all the way through November 2nd, every Friday and Saturday, a couple Thursdays, one Wednesday, and every Sunday in October. Those tickets are going to cost you $25 for the 13 Stories Haunted House, the Vertigo Haunt, and Clown House Returns. So, you're paying about $5 more, but that just gets you the 3 haunts. Then you can get the VIP pass, which will get you to the front of the line for all of those for only $35. Then you have the Black Ops pass, which gets you 13 Stories, Vertigo Haunt, Clown House Returns, and Project Wasteland Advanced Laser Experience. That's $35. And then the VIP Black Ops pass gets you all that for $45 as well. So, depending on how you look at it, you can spend anywhere from $25 and just get the 3 haunts, forget the laser tag, or you can spend upwards of $35 to get the haunt plus the laser tag, and that's without the VIP pass. VIP pass, you're looking at $45, so I mean, grand scheme of things, it's not the worst price point in the world. It definitely makes it a little bit more like, okay, like, I don't mind. But I definitely wouldn't be rushing to get in there. I would not be paying $45 for the speed pass to do all of that fun stuff. But 13 Stories Haunted House, located in Newnan, Georgia. They're located at 320 Temple Avenue, Building A, Newnan, Georgia, 30263. They are open most nights from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Actually, they're open all the nights that they are open is 7 to 10 p.m. So go out there, check them out. Let us know if you enjoyed them. Maybe you'll have a better experience than we did, but it definitely was not our favorite. Rate them 2.5 screams at the end of this. So be sure to head on out there, check them out. You can follow them on all their social medias. They are on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, TripAdvisor, and LinkedIn. I guess if you want a job, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But go check them out. Rain never matters at 13 Stories because it's all indoors, except for that one tiny portion that apparently it has a pretty big effect if it is, yeah, okay. But yeah, go check out 13 Stories Haunted House, located in Newnan, Georgia. But that is going to do it for us on this episode. Stay tuned. We got plenty more coming at you this spooky season. I've been your host, Jeremy, and until next time, stay safe out there. Don't text and drive, and be excellent to each other. We'll see you in the fog.
Hey, you guys survived to the end of the show. Congratulations, you're all final girl material. But don't worry, you'll have plenty more opportunities to fall victim to our horrifying creations throughout the season. Afraid to miss out on more content?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Don't worry, we've got you covered. All you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. You can also subscribe to our Libsyn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Groovy.
Want to keep up with us regularly? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok for all of our social media fun.
Don't fall asleep.
Go check out our website for our written reviews at theterrortalks.wixsite.com.
What are you going to do with those pies, boys?
Want to help us keep the lights from flickering? You can give us a one-time donation of $3 to support the show by visiting glow.fm/theterrortalks. Simply go to that link, and your one-time donation will go back into keeping the show running from Michael, Freddie, and Jason for another day. You can also subscribe to our Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/theterrortalks. Once there, you can subscribe to one of our 2 tiers, our lowest tier of $1 a month and our highest tier of $5 a month. That's less than 1 cup of coffee, and it all goes right back into our show. Anything else we're forgetting?
I tell you, Michael Myers is here in this
town. Please give us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts and let us know that you saw the show. And if there's something you liked or even didn't like, you can also contact us directly at theterrortalks@gmail.com. Well, that does it for this spooky showing. Be safe out there and beware of ghouls, goblins, and monsters. But until next time, happy haunting.